Prime Video set as screeners for their new series, The Horror of Dolores Roach. The series is based on a Spotify podcast of the same name. I watched the first 3 episodes before recording this video, so it will be a spoiler-free look at the first season. Roach is said to be a contemporary Sweeney Todd-inspired urban legend of love, betrayal, weed, cannibalism, and survival of the fittest. I'm not so sure it lives up to this sales pitch, but there's a bit more synopsis before we dive into that. Dolores Roach, played by Justina Machado, is released from prison after 16 years. She returns to her home of Washington Heights. So many things in the neighborhood have changed in the time that she's been away, so she seeks solace in the one familiar place that she sees, an empanada shop. The shop is run by Luis, played by Alejandro Hernandez, a remnant from the old neighborhood and her old life. Luis lets Dolores live and work as an unlicensed masseuse in the basement of the shop. When her new life is threatened, Dolores is driven to shocking extremes to survive. Apparently. I was pretty excited to dive into this one. I thought the concept of a Sweeney Todd-inspired modern thriller had a lot of potential and could go in many interesting directions. It sounded like something truly unique. The fact that the series was based on an already popular podcast, in my mind, meant that the subject matter had been vetted by an audience already, so I was really excited to dive into a quality production. Not far into the first episode, my excitement was deflating quickly. Posing the series as the story Dolores is telling a woman who was portraying Dolores on the stage performance seems like a lazy crutch in a narration, and after 3 episodes, it seems like there really is no story-driven reason to do this. Even buying into the premise, there are details told in what is a flashback apparently, that make up the majority of the series Dolores wasn't even there for and would have no business knowing. Justina Machado does a serviceable job in the role. She seems likable enough as Dolores, but the production doesn't fully commit to the lead actor. There is no attempt to age the character after 16 years in prison. She doesn't seem to have learned anything from her arrest or her time in prison, except when the story needs her to have done so, and then they just fill in the gap with the narration telling you that she did. Luis could have been an interesting character. Someone living in the past, someone trying to hang on to this old part of the old neighborhood, trying to run his father's business in the way that he can, to the best of his ability. But once again, the show doesn't really go into any of this. Luis smokes weed, doesn't do a good job running his business because the story doesn't want him to. There are a few other side characters that go pretty much as deep as a cardboard cutout. Certain elements of the series beyond the characters were solid ideas that probably could have been developed into something. Dolores going away for 16 years for dealing a substance that, when she gets out, has been legalized. Spending 16 years in prison for someone else. Even the gentrification of Washington Heights is supposed to be a social commentary. Not enough care is given to any of these details. Nothing is really explored. The potential I saw in the synopsis was not being delivered on at all. When the big turning moment of the series comes, which is not much of a spoiler given the Sweeney Todd reference in the marketing materials, it feels unnecessary and actually pretty extreme. Even worse, the narration talks about why this has to be done, Dolores' thought process, how she knew this. There's that fill in the knowledge gap from prison. In the very next scene, the same character is saying it was an accident and she never meant to do it, but not in a way of one character lying to another where the audience really knows the truth. She seemed to apparently believe that. The Horror of Dolores Roach isn't a horror, it's not a drama, comedy, or musical. It's a lukewarm, half-hearted attempt with no focus given to any single element, so everything feels half-baked and underdeveloped. I really wanted to like this one. I was really excited getting into it, and I tried to hang in there waiting for it to turn around, but there is nothing there to keep the audience clicking that watch next, and after stepping away from the series for even like 5 minutes, it never crossed my mind to go back. I never listened to the podcast. I actually thought about it, thinking I would like the series to dive back into that to see where it all began, but I imagine the writing is on the same level as this series, this creepy pasta level thing that for some reason got lucky and caught fire. The Horror of Dolores Roach premieres on Prime Video July 7th.